This is the reason Paredes might be facing a ban, unlike anything we've seen handed out for this kind of offence before. Here's the mechanism that actually matters, and almost nobody's explaining it properly. FIFA is not just looking at what happened in the final in isolation. Their process specifically involves checking a player's pattern of past conduct before deciding where in the sentencing range to land. That's not speculation, that's literally how FIFA's disciplinary committee is built to operate. Establish whether this looks like a genuine one-off or an established pattern, and punish accordingly. And once you start actually pulling Paredes' file, one-off stops being a believable argument fast. FIFA has charged Paredes with 3 separate counts of assault over the World Cup final. Article 14 of their disciplinary code covering the strike on Eric Garcia's throat and the shove that put Gavi on the ground. Under FIFA's own rules, that's a minimum of 3 matches per offence, meaning 9 matches is the theoretical suspension for this alone, and that number alone would already be one of the harshest individual sanctions to come out of this entire tournament. But here's the theory worth actually sitting with, because it's not just about how many international caps he misses. Paredes is on the edge of facing the biggest ban of history, but before we move into that, please do me a huge favour and hit that subscribe button. If you believe football needs to be fair, subscribe and help this small channel grow. It means the world to me. Now let's look at what happened to Luis Suarez after his second biting incident at the 2014 World Cup. FIFA didn't just ban him from Uruguay's next 9 matches, they banned him 4 months from all football-related activity. Full stop. Club football included. Suarez couldn't train with his own teammates, couldn't play a single minute for whichever club he was joining that summer. Nothing. That's the precedent that actually matters here, because it shows FIFA's punishments aren't automatically capped at misses some international games. Suarez had 1 incident. Paredes has 3 separate charges from the final alone, plus 2022, plus Boca Juniors. If FIFA decides a pattern this extensive deserves the same kind of all-football activity treatment Suarez got, and Paredes is 32 years old right now, that's not just a suspension anymore. That's a ban that could eat into the last meaningful years of his actual career, at Boca Juniors and everywhere else, not just with Argentina. And given the scale of what's on his file compared to Suarez's single incident, it's a genuinely likely thing to happen, not a stretch. Here's something else worth knowing, because it shows just how differently FIFA's already treating this case. They actually had the power to suspend Paredes immediately once the investigation opened. FIFA's rules allow a provisional suspension of up to 90 days while a case is being built, extendable by another 90 on top of that. They chose not to use it, which is exactly how he ended up free to go and spark that Boca Juniors incident in the first place, mid-investigation, with the case already open against him. Whether that turns out to be an oversight or a sign FIFA's still deciding how seriously to take this, either way, it's part of why his file keeps getting thicker by the week, instead of the case just sitting still. But watch the footage back, because this is exactly the kind of thing that keeps showing up around this player specifically. Straight for the neck, straight into a referee's face, over and over. Look at how quickly he closes the distance every single time something goes against him. That's not a one-off temper, flaring under the weight of a World Cup final. That's a reaction that looks the same, whether it's a group stage qualifier or the biggest match of his life. Honestly, watching clip after clip of this, you start to wonder if this is a man who's never actually learned emotional balance on a football pitch. Because talent clearly isn't the issue here. It's whatever happens in his head the second a decision goes against him. Go back to 2022, the Netherlands quarter-final, and Paredes is right at the centre of that benches clearing chaos too. Kicking the ball at their dugout, sparking a mass confrontation that pundits at the time said should have gotten him sent off on the spot. That's 2 separate World Cups, 4 years apart, with Paredes as a central figure in a brawl at both of them. And then, days after FIFA actually filed these charges, while the case was already open against him, he went straight back to Boca Juniors and sparked another one. Smashed the ball at an opponent following a foul call, both benches emptied, another confrontation with his name at the centre of it. Not old footage, not a different era. This happened after he already knew FIFA was building a case against him. At what point does this stop being a moment of madness and start being an actual anger problem? This man needs to sort out before he sets foot on a pitch again. Because from where I'm sitting, that's exactly what this looks like. Because FIFA and football's governing bodies have dealt with repeat aggression before. and the punishments have been all over the place. Luis Suarez, Zinedine Zidane, and none of them looks like Paredes, who could broke the scale of what unsportsmanlike means. And this is the question FIFA's disciplinary committee is reportedly wrestling with right now, according to their own process. Whether Paredes' actions were premeditated or simply a result of the high-stakes environment of a World Cup final. That distinction matters enormously for where his punishment lands, and given that he's now gone and done something almost identical at Boca Juniors, in a completely ordinary domestic match with none of the World Cup pressure anywhere near him, the pressure of the final made him do, it gets a lot harder to argue with a straight face. It's not just Paredes' file getting thicker either. FIFA's reportedly investigating the Argentine Federation itself across several separate fronts from this tournament, discrimination and racist abuse allegations, and order and security issues at their matches, on top of the individual assault charges and the Falklands banner case. So, while we're focused on Paredes here, he's genuinely just one piece of a much bigger disciplinary file FIFA's built against Argentina as a whole. And on the public anger side, there's now an actual petition circulating, specifically demanding FIFA hand Paredes a lifetime ban from all competitions, calling his conduct a dire threat to the safety and integrity of the sport. So here's what I want to know from you. Looking at everything stacked together, 2022, the final, and now Boca Juniors, where do you think this actually ranks compared to the worst individual disciplinary records we've seen in modern international football? Is it deserved that Paredes gets it worse? Let me know in the comments, and if you want to see exactly what FIFA decides once this process wraps up, go hit subscribe.